All right. So welcome all to the 12-step Big Book Workshop. My name is Lisa. I'm a student of the 12 steps methodology of recovery. When I think about my 12-step journey, I used to see it as a stairway, because of the steps. Let's go up the stairway. We rise up the stairs and we go up to our recovery. And the problem I had with that visual was I thought it was a single stairway that I was climbing. And what I've discovered over my time in the program is it's actually a spiral staircase because it continues to spiral upward and it just keeps going. It's a never-ending journey, so to speak. So for anybody who's wondering, is this a one and done? It is not one story. At the very least, it is probably a 40-story high rise. So don't get discouraged. So we're going to do the set aside prayer for a new experience and letting go of our old ways. And we open our minds to our higher power and we allow that power to guide us through our daily living. And we use it in the workshop, but I have recommended and highly suggest that you consider using this prayer in your daily prayer work and to edit it as I do to fit the needs of whatever's going on in your life at the time. And just a little tidbit, a simple definition of what it means to be an addict. I read this recently and I thought it was really good. It's we can't handle using because of the mental obsession and the physical allergy, but we can't handle not using because of our spiritual maladies, which is what drives us to use. So I thought that was interesting. So when we wake up in the morning, let's let's jump out of bed and think about the next day ahead of us. And we consider our plans for the day. But before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonesty, or self-seeking motives. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of our negative motives. So we look ahead to the day and we might consider what direction we want to go in. This is when we would ask our higher power for guidance or an intuitive thought or a direction, anything, a sign, so to speak. And we relax into our day with a sense of support and connectedness. And there's no struggle. It's just we begin our day and we have the assurance that answers are going to come easily, especially with a little bit of practice under our belts. And then at the end of the day, we honestly and openly run through our day like it's a little film on the screen. And we review by asking ourselves, were we resentful? Were we selfish, dishonest, afraid? Do we owe anyone an apology? We do a zoom through our head and we say, what did I do today? What have I done? Do I need to address anything? And then we could also say, well, what could I maybe have done better? Was I thinking of myself in a selfish way most of the day? This isn't, it's not an exercise of attaching guilt and criticism. It's about learning new experiences about myself and the behaviors that I need to address. So I'm receptive to the information and knowledge needed to support the changes I've been working on. And this practice clears out my channel so I can refill it with the light needed to carry me through my day. And I talk to my creator for direction about my day ahead, and I tune in to hear that small whispering voice respond, or I sense a nudging or a pull, and I can feel that it comes from beyond myself. And in order to preserve my channel and to keep it pristine, I continue that meditation practice every single day. There won't come a day when I don't have to. I'm not saying I don't miss a day, because I certainly do, but there might come a time when you might have to, and it's okay. Nothing's 100% in this world. So, addiction's impact highlights the interconnectedness of the body and the mind. There is a need for interconnectedness. It makes a holistic approach to our treatment, and it's essential for lasting recovery. Whatever affects the body inevitably impacts the mind, and vice versa. Without an understanding of that and how they interact, a lot of people have mistakenly believed that they only need to address the external aspects of addiction, of course, only to find relapse banging on their door again. So we need to do this on a regular basis. And the part about the regular basis is important because we get distracted so easily and we go off on tangents. So when we have these really important habits in place, it really makes a difference in recovery. And the powerlessness is basically our biggest problem. And it underlies all of the substance and process addictions in North America. 1 in 6 people will have a substance addiction. It's a little bit under five. 5 out of 10 will have a process addiction. It's actually 46% of people. It's not quite half, but it's really close. And in this world that's bombarded with AI now, I predict the process addictions, the numbers are going to climb. And the reason that Bill was able to say in the big book, our way of living may have its advantages for all, he says that because of the unmanageability of being a human being. It's the human condition. And that's whether a person is addicted or not. We all have the capacity to experience it on a regular basis. 100%, 10 out of 10 of all human beings has unmanageability, according to the big book's description of what unmanageability is. So, although addiction is not the problem, which that is a correct statement, it is a problem that needs addressing. And we see this listing of several substance and process addictions, and of course, there's many more that I haven't listed here. There's probably new ones coming out every day. And the misunderstandings about what addiction is and how it affects those around us, it actually hinders our recovery process and reinforces our false stigmas. So, recognizing the parallels between powerlessness and unmanageability in substance use and process addictions is key because it shifts the focus from the very specific addictive substance or behavior to the internal experience of losing control. Acceptance stops the struggle against reality and it lowers defenses, and that allows us to seek the guidance that we need from our higher power. So tonight we start with the doctor's opinion. After my third or fourth time of doing an in-depth 12-step workshop, I believe that's when my spiritual awakening started to really take off. I had put all the right pieces together, and I had my parking lot experience. And I realized that all my prior work had culminated into that one singular event. And although at the moment I didn't realize the extent of that parking lot event, my life after that changed without really having to do much in the way of accomplishing a spiritual awakening. So my opinion is, and my belief and experience is that once you have that somewhat big spiritual awakening, it doesn't continue to do that at the capacity that that big one comes in as. But what does happen is it continues to be renewed. And there will come a time when it just becomes like a process where it's just constantly there. The bigness, I think, comes because we're not used to having anything, and it just makes it feel that much larger. So as we go further into that, the awakening is still there, but it's not balloons and party streamers and all that. It just gets more normal. So I attended more, my workshops, and I did some more stuff, and I wanted more of the immense release that that parking lot surrender had brought me. And I began to really hear things and see things differently. And I started to understand that having a problem with my mind meant I was obsessional and delusional. This will be explored over the next few weeks as we go over what Bill says about the problem of the mind and what he refers to as insanity. This is different from the insanity you will hear about in the 12-step talk rooms and what the big book says about insanity, about a defect of the mind inherent in addiction. We're not talking about clinical issues. And then finally, after more time spent studying and learning the 12 steps, I began to deeply understand what my will was really doing to my life. I say began because I'm always learning more about my will. It always sneaks in there, and it often catches me off guard. I say it like it's its own entity because sometimes that's how it feels. And I think it was so crucial to my survival that it became second nature, which is why I have a hard time noticing it sometimes. But what I might have thought wasn't my will before eventually shows up as a definite self-will problem. And through prayer and setting aside the things I cannot change, I started to understand the human condition in relation to step one's reference of unmanageability. With a lot of hindsight, viewing in the beginning, I was able to be honest with myself, and I could see how much my will ruined my life. I thought addicts were unmanageable because they behaved poorly from being addicts, and therefore, when they got sober or recovered, they would never be unmanageable again. And sadly, I was very, very wrong about that. So we're finally here. We're at step one. And it step one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step one is the foundation step of the 12 steps. Bill uses the metaphor foundation beginning in step two, and I think it is a great concept. But foundationally, step one is very important because if we can't admit that we're powerless, we will not be able to tap into the help that we can get because we're too busy being powerful ourselves. So it's a very important step that we admit that we're powerless, that we can't do all the things that we thought we could, even though we've been banging our heads against the wall for decades trying to prove that we could. So on page 47, Bill says, willingness is the cornerstone to a spiritual arch through which we walk to a new freedom. So step one is the foundation, and step two is the cornerstone. Bill carries this image into step three with the term keystone at the top of the arch, which holds the entire arch together. Then he continues with this metaphor on page 75. Now we have walked through the spiritual arch to freedom. And there are a set of promises there that go with that are just extremely beautiful if you want to take a peek at them. So if we have a foundation, a cornerstone, and a keystone, and we're walking through a built archway, we might ask ourselves, what are the building blocks? Where did this structure come from? And Bill didn't specifically say anything about building blocks in the big book, but with a little imagination, we could deduce that the building blocks are found in step 4. A model of body, mind, and will as the foundation serves us really well in step 1. Then that builds towards step 2 and eventually step 3. So we're laying the foundation with these blocks or these bricks or stones of knowledge and wisdom that we're accumulating really fast in the beginning. And to really understand and learn about step 3, we'd have to look at the structure of the process. And then we'll be able to walk through the arches to a new way of living. This model will hold for all of the steps together. This concept about the body, mind, and will be reintroduced regularly throughout the workshop because it's pretty important. That was weird. So the Big Book offers addicts an invitation to a new way of life based on recovery, fellowship, and spiritual growth. Bill's message is an invitation to transition from a hopeless, dying state to a life of sobriety through this 12-step program. He also talks about the bondage of self. So here we have lost Lisa in the chains of her own delusional beliefs. She has thoughts and abuse of herself. She has unknowingly always struggled through her life because of her own misperceptions. And unknowingly, she's waiting for the revelation of the truth to come out, which sounds a little difficult for somebody who's really not looking at the truth, but that's really what's going on. We don't really maybe want to know the truth, but we really do yearn for it. And Bill calls the spiritual malady the bondage of self because we're powerless over addiction dash unmanageability. Once we see the problem of unmanageability, it enables us to see that we are powerless over addictions. There is no blame, just an understanding of how this works with the desire to recover. And people are powerless over all types of addictions. It doesn't matter what the addiction is. It could be an addiction to walking your dog every day at 3 o'clock. It's still an addiction. And it's not that we're powerless over addiction and our life is unmanageable. It goes without saying. But when I'm in my addiction, my life will be totally out of control. Totally. And now I'm in my 60s, and I know with certainty that on my own amount of power, my life is not manageable and continues to spiral into more and more destruction. Decades of unmanageability was acutely evident in my life. I generally did what I did not want to do, and I did not do what I wanted to do. No matter what method I tried, or how many meetings I attended, or how many books I read, the unmanageability continued to have a hold on me. And there is a problem in the body, that's evident. And Bill described the body's role in addiction as an allergy, a physical compulsion triggered by the first drink or drug. This allergy manifests as a phenomenon of craving, an uncontrollable, purely physical demand for more substance or processing, which makes it nearly impossible for the sufferer to stop once they have started. It is an allergy per se, an obsession, according to Dr. Silkworth. And he explained that the body is the problem in addiction because it suffers from the physical allergy. Once an addicted person ingests a substance, this allergy produces a physical craving that creates an uncontrollable, abnormal urge for more, making it impossible to stop with willpower alone. And that is also true of process addictions. Bill didn't go over that because it wasn't an issue back then. But even with process addictions, we use, let's say, a video game, and we're only going to use it for, let's say, a half an hour. And before we know it, we're using it. It's 5 hours have gone by because we can't stop. It's almost impossible for us to stop. We're addicted. And Dr. Silkworth, he was a psychiatrist and a medical doctor, but he had a specialty in psychoanalytic theory. And he wasn't a very good doctor in the beginning, which is why he worked for Towns Hospital in New York. He couldn't get a successful practice together for whatever reason, but he was a very qualified man, a medical doctor with psychiatric training. So they called him a psychiatrist, and he ran the drug and alcohol treatment program of the hospital. And Dr. Silkworth's conclusion on how to overcome addiction is entire abstinence for an addict, complete abstinence. Of course, complete abstinence won't be true for a food addict because we cannot abstain from eating. We have to eat. But we can abstain from the foods that we use addictively. We are powerless over our addictions, but also over people, places, and things, and certainly powerless over circumstances and the end results that go with it. So powerless means we have no choices. Well, no good choices. And we are, of course, very capable of abstaining regularly. Stopping isn't the big issue that we need to overcome. We stop all the time. We stop for a weekend, a week, a month, a year, sometimes decades. And, the mind has the same issue of being defective as the body does. Bill calls this insanity. That's his definition of insanity, what goes on in the mind with addiction. But Bill doesn't mean it in a psychological diagnosis kind of way. So don't think it's not like that. And if you have to, set aside the term allergy. If that doesn't work into whatever your addiction is because it's not a substance addiction or whatever, you don't have to use that word. We don't have to use any words that don't resonate with us. Find the word that works for you. But what does the term allergy to him meant craving, which I still struggle with that definition, but it works for a lot of people. What does insane mean? In the big book, it has a unique meaning, not what the dictionary says. In the big book, insane describes the alcoholic's inability to consistently apply their knowledge about the harmful effects of alcohol to their own drinking behavior. So if you go to any dictionary and you look up insane, you're not going to find that definition unless Bill wrote the dictionary. It also refers to obsession, meaning our mind is defective and vulnerable to a thought, and that particular thought becomes an obsession. Bill uses words that are separate from the traditional words in the dictionary. And Bill defined obsession as the mental insanity that convinces an addict, despite all past evidence and consequences, that they can control their drinking somehow, someday. It is the mental component of the disease preceding the first drink that forces a return to alcohol, often described as a strange obsession. And the problem with our thoughts is that the content of it is delusional. It's lies. And we believe it until we understand what the truth actually is. But we don't have any defense against that because we honestly are delusional. We believe the thoughts that we have until we clear them up. And here we have Reverend Frank Buckman. He was a Lutheran minister who started the Oxford Group, which is the creator of the original 6 steps that helped all the people who were in the Oxford Group. This is what Bill came to the 12-step table with, the original 6 steps. It was a 6-step transformation that got him sober and eventually helped him author the big book. It really was catalyst for Joe. I mean, Bill, I'm looking at him. And then we have Dr. Jung. He was the real problem behind chronic addiction as a profound spiritual malady, describing it as a misguided search for wholeness, a spiritual thirst for meaning in an existential vacuum. He believed this not just about chemical dependency as being the root cause, but he famously told Roland Hazard that only a spiritual experience or radical transformation could create lasting recovery. Dr. Jung didn't say go find religion, but he also didn't say seek a deeper relationship with God. He specifically said go find a spiritual experience. So, have you ever gone to the beach during a storm and you tried to stop the waves from coming ashore? I doubt anybody has. But why? Why would somebody do that? Well, because we're sane enough to know that we don't have the power to do it. No matter how hard we try, we know we would never accomplish such a foolish task. There is no way we could prevent the wave from rolling over us and onto the shore. Some of those waves would probably knock us down at the very least, and some would cause us physical harm or even death as the storm gets worse. Yet, how many of us try to stop or control our own addiction? It's very the job at hand is very similar as it would be to trying to stop a wave from crashing down over us. It's just not ever going to happen. We have to rely on an outside power. And that is the extent of the PowerPoint tonight. I hope that clears up stuff maybe for people. If not, I would love to hear your questions or your comments or
Can I ask,
whatever you
can I
have.
ask the question? Did I
Can you,
come in again late? What time does it start? 8 or 8:30?
8 o'clock?
Oh, I came in a half an hour late again. Oh well, I'll have to figure it out on video.
Now
I'll
you
have
have to
to,
do it twice.
I'll have to go to the videotape.
Set an alarm, Joel.
Okay.
So, any questions about what you just heard or anything you've read or something you need to discuss?
Well, so this was step one, correct?
We just started step one, correct?
Step one.
Yes.
Um, the readings on step one for the homework were pretty good. And the the video was also pretty good. I think it probably covered a lot of what you probably did today in this video. And the a lot of the folks that are here tonight were there for the video that we did 6 months ago in September of 2025. And, Mark was there and I was there. And I think that Carol was there and Anita was there. A lot of people were there and they spoke. And it was interesting. I mean, it was interesting to hear the folks and to hear your responses to them. But, step one, at that point, I was in the program, Debtors Anonymous, for 2 months. And I was brand new. And I had really just, that was my first exposure to the steps. And I really was kind of very confused by the steps. And now I'm a little less confused. And I have to say that the whole discussion of powerlessness was very new to me back then. And now it's much less confusing. And you know, I have a much better understanding of steps one, two, three, and four. and that I admit my powerlessness and my unmanageability, and that my will has run rampant, and that my ego and my narcissism have probably kept me for the past 40 years being a spender and an occasional debtor. And that if I had found this program 40 years ago and had started going through the steps way back when, I probably would be in a lot better shape today in regard to my entire financial and probably social and marital and every other situation that I'm in.
Mhm.
Um, it probably would have changed my life in very significant and positive ways. But I'm glad that I'm here with it now and that I understand what this is doing for me, and how happy and humble I am. Um, it really is a life-changing thing. That I am unmanageable, that I am that my will has run riot, that I am willing to let a higher power take control of my life, that I do have questions about what higher power is, yet I am willing to let whatever it is, whether it's a puppy or or the what I've explained to you, what I think it is, and whatever it is, I am willing to let that inner voice guide me and have some power over me, and that I'm willing to make amends for all of the things that I think the fear and the other problems, I forget the word that the steps use, but that I let all of those things try and resolve themselves when we get to step four, and try and make amends for them when we get to step five and six, and later on, and then to really try and work them out, and to really follow the steps and work through them, and to also try and make steps 10, 11, and 12 more of daily matters for myself, and to try and live them, because I really do think that no matter what you believe higher power to be, the mechanism of the steps is really a really good way to live. And I think that um, I'm here for the ride because I think that it's really helped. So I'm not going to perseverate about it. I'm here. I'm late, but did the homework and I'm good.
Thanks, Joel. And I would tell you, probably everybody in the room wishes they got the information and really ran with it at a younger age. I think we all feel that way, no matter what age you finally grasp it. Um, but I think for myself, having been in the program, I've been in the program over 50 years. For whatever reason, it didn't grasp in the beginning or the middle even. It took a different kind of maturity in my own life to come along and support the information that the 12 steps was giving to me. Because at a younger age, I wasn't equipped. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of us feel that way, that we wish even a year ago, oh, I wish I knew that a year ago because I would have done things so differently. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But I try not to um visit that idea too much because there's nothing I can do
No,
about
you
it.
can't beat yourself over the head
You can't. You
about
can't.
anything. No,
Yeah.
and you have to be happy about where you are now.
Yep. You
But
you got it exactly when you were supposed to, and for whatever reason we don't know. It is what it is.
yeah.
Um, Carol, go ahead, Carol.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody. First of all, Lisa, I would like to know, do you take Venmo?
I do.
Okay, I'd like, that's how I'd like to pay you through Venmo. That's the first.
Okay.
The second thing is I had a kind of a mini spiritual experience this morning. You know, when I do my my quiet time, my meditation, I go through the things that I got from her. You know, all the things that we're supposed to do for the 10th step and for the 11th step and everything. And I read the prayer of St. Francis. You know, it's included in all of that. And I just had, I thought to myself, I'm supposed to bring joy to people. If people are sad, I'm supposed to bring joy to them. And I'm not supposed to walk around fearful and depressed. And everything that all of the promises promise, I think to myself, I have to be that person today. I just have to get over my fear and be that person today. And I was that person today. And it's amazing because it really does change the way people reacted to me and the way I view the way my whole day went. I usually have very, very a difficult time with my son because he has Asperger's syndrome and he usually calls me and he's in a panic and he's afraid he's going to die and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And, usually I get all, but I didn't. I said, well, if you're not feeling well right now, go to the ER. And normally I would drop everything I was doing and I would drive over and I'd take him to the ER. But I said, you have to do these things. You have to learn how to do these things. And I can't help you. You're not a 10-year-old little kid anymore. You're an adult. So, and now I do something else that's really, really great. When he says something that just frustrates me and it just gets me so irritated and frustrated, I say to him, Matt, that doesn't make any sense at all. Not at all, but I still love you. I love you. And it's just a great, I can't tell you. I think you can see it on my face. It just changes. So I would suggest if anybody is doing their meditation and they want to get an idea of what their higher power, the ideals of their higher power, read that prayer of St. Francis. It's very powerful, very powerful. And
That prayer is actually in the guidebook on my website. It's in the back of the guidebook if anyone wants to read it. So it is a lovely prayer.
I know it is. And also, I wanted to tell you that I did my homework too. I want to get brownie points from my teacher. I did the body. I did the worksheet. If I'd love to, oh, this is Lonnie. I would love to read it if you want to listen to it. I don't know,
Cool.
but yeah, you want to hear it?
Cool. Yeah.
This was on the journey on the website, page 20 on the journey, the journal or the journey.
The journey. Yep.
The journey. Okay, so the body. What has my experience with addiction been, mine and or others? My experience with addiction has been that I have used food as a drug to soothe myself. If an important decision had to be made, if I was depressed, if I was anxious, if I was fearful, if I was happy, I had to put food in my mouth. Sweet treats, particularly, were very, very soothing for me and lifted my spirits. The second question, what happens when I indulge in my addiction? 3 examples. When I indulge in my addiction, I cannot stop eating. I become more emotional, and I give in to my desire to eat sweet things and have terrible remorse afterwards. And then number 3, what is my history of attempting to overcome it or stop once I start? My history of attempting to overcome it or stop is starting and failing at one diet after another. I think of the most ridiculous ideas to start eating sweets again. And it is only the program, it's only the FA program that has cured me of that addiction. The principles of the program and the 12 steps. Okay, and how successful have I been to control substance use? Not successful at all until FA, which I've been in FA for 13 years now. And how honest have I been about it with myself. Once I came into FA, when I went to meetings, when I practiced the 12 steps, I studied the big book, I came to realize 13 years ago that I am and always will be a food addict. I do not eat the way normal people eat. I use food as a drug.
Excellent.
Yay!
Excellent. And it sounds like, did you blow through that pretty easily?
Pretty, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
could
could tell.
put my own handwriting, and I really should have put it my own.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, and the reason I could go through it pretty easily is because I've done it so many times. That's the thing. You have to do it and redo it and do it again. That's what really I think cements it in my mind anyway.
Yep. Repetition, absolutely. That's why every single day you aim to do 10, 11, 12. That repetition, it
We,
sets patterns in your brain.
Lonnie and I have done meditation together every day, every single day last week, and
Well, we try and do it every day,
we do it,
except when I have to go to an early golf.
except
It's
when he
like,
has to go.
Well, you got to golf first.
today I did
No
read,
judgment.
no, did read for the first time in pages 1 through 8 that Bill W. thought he was as good or better than Walter Hagen. It's like, I didn't realize that. He must have been a good golfer.
Probably. I'm sure he was.
I don't know why it's in the big book, but it is. I never noticed it before.
But it puts some perspective on it. I'm sorry can I crosstalk? Is that okay, Lisa?
Well, this time, Joel, but
That he had time to think that he was better than Bill Hagen. That's puts an interesting twist on this whole thing. That he wasn't so absorbed in alcoholism and trying to do all this stuff, and that he had a golf game and that he thought he was better than Bill Hagen actually puts a little perspective on it, that he had a life other than this.
right, right.
Right. And the only other thing I'd like to say is I do say the St. Francis prayer every day, but I changed the last line because I dislike the last line entirely. I find it way too religiously oriented for Christianity. Not being a Christian, I don't agree with it. So,
Absolutely.
so my last line is, with the death of my ego, I am reborn anew. It's like
Excellent.
I just I just don't like his last line.
And you know what, Lonnie? That's fantastic. That's what we should do with all prayers. They're like a starting point where we take the prayer and we make it our own to reflect what we need in our lives. So that's fantastic. We should do that with every prayer that we do. Absolutely.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you, guys. Great job. Okay, Anita, you're up.
Trying to think of what I got. I think it was an ulcer, but uh, but anyway, oh dear. Um, my my sheet sounded a lot like Carol's because we're in the same uh, program, and so I just was thinking about when I came into program, and it reminded me of things I read in the homework or in the doctor's opinion, that I came in with all this self-confidence because for 50 years I'd been, studying about nutrition, uh, dieting, everything that came along, any book, any program. And so coming into the the rooms, I was looking for the diet and the weight loss because, I dieted myself up to a couple 100 pounds, but um, that self-confidence they said in the book it's not a good thing to come in with. In fact, it's a detriment. And so I sat in the meetings for 3 months. I was so, I was just sitting there, oh God, they're talking about God all the time. I didn't even raise my hand to get up and read. I was just, Hmm. But I must have been hearing something. Uh, But anyway, I also, when I was reading the doctor's opinion about the allergy, it reminded me of something I'd read about allergy, and that when you're allergic to something, a lot of times it puts you to sleep. And so that's what, after, I'd have dinner and then I'd have alcohol with my dinner and then I'd go down and watch TV and fall asleep in my chair, So then I did I kind of, oh, identified with that allergy thing. But yeah, and yeah, I think, it talks about another thing about finally after 3 months and trying to do the whole program on my own, no flour, no sugar, blah, blah, blah. And I could never, stick with it. And so I finally said, well, I guess I do need a sponsor, although I don't really want to, I don't want to do that. But it reminded me of these last gaspers, talking about that on the 12 and 12. These people that even these last gaspers often had difficulty in realizing how hopeless they actually were, you know. And I was powerless because the addiction was keeping me from being, abstinent for any length of time. So, yeah, that's, yeah, yeah. I guess that's about it, what I did with this homework. I didn't get through the whole, all of it, but several of the things on the list I did. So,
As long as you did what you could, that's what counts,
hmm
It's a lot.
hmm it seemed like it, and then life comes in there too. So,
That's right. We still have our day jobs.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks, Anita.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, like doing the homework. Like I'm not gonna veer from the truth. Like it was a last minute thing with the body thing because like I couldn't, I clicked it and I couldn't get through. So, but I did answer that. But what I looked at first that was kind of interesting, a few days ago, or a couple days ago was like, what is wrong with my body? And so, like, my mind tells me that wasting time and low earning are okay. And that's part of the addiction and fighting. It tells me what I'm doing that is my process addiction is okay. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
As to limit my like I'm taking all the actions I'm supposed to take, but it'll literally tell me and I get reminders when I talk to my sponsee that like I see it in her and then I see it in myself that my mind's literally telling me this is okay. To give a clear example, I had a family member, and I have established faith outside the 12 step, and this family member shares that faith, and then they were trying to tell me something regarding the established higher power, which to truth be told, even though I have an established faith, my relationship with my higher power is very different than a lot of members of my faith because I'm in 12 step. So when I was talking to my aunt and she was telling me some stuff, the kind of concepts that she accepts, I no longer accept them. So when she was talking to me about like that I was potentially saying that God had done this or God had done that, I didn't want to correct her because I didn't want to get into too much having outside literature quoted at me, but I was able to listen to what she was saying and sort of like detach from it, take what I needed and leave the rest
Yeah.
because I can't do that anymore to get out of the active addiction of my process addiction because a lot of the people and here's one of the God sets I got is that while I'm way older than I was when I first came into the recoveries that I am, I still have a lot of people in my family who are like 30 years older than me, actually not actively acting out on the process addiction that I'm trying to take a hit out on today. So while it would be better if I had done this 30 years ago, I know people in my family 30 years ahead of me that are actively like really like dying of this addiction, not really able to necessarily get any recovery or even want to seek it or even want to seek it. So yeah, it's interesting. Something like I realized, and I didn't realize till this question, and I'm trying to go as deep as possible because I really want even more recovery from just this low level earning and stuff. But I realized, and I didn't know that until this question, that I've been tired like all my life, just like kind of like I'm tired, like sleep fatigue sort of stuff. And I thought, like I thought recently because I have had some of those issues that come with the sugar and no sugar thing, and I'll say it like that. Uh, but I realized doing this that no, when I was a kid, like I was always kind of like since I began working, I've always had this tired thing that they talk about in this fellowship, and I didn't even see it till this exercise. And then I saw it, I was like, oh my god! I went back like 40 years, and saw that it was like it actually 40 years of being tired all the time when I'm working jobs I don't want to work and doing a bunch of stuff that I don't want to do. Now, when I'm doing stuff that I really want to do, I don't have that incessant lethargy. But I was just like, it was like, it was a huge sort of like thing. And then like, I couldn't, what came up that was interesting, and I'm just going to go for the body sheet and then I'll shut it down. But I've spent most of my life not earning properly, and I feel like I have no access to money. That was my first answer to the question. Even though I'm doing all these things, I've been in recovery, even this particular program, UA, for 3 years back now. I'm still like, like it's just, it's so, it's different than other addictions because like I earn every day. I don't earn what I should be earning. But if I stop doing what I what I'm doing, then I would have even worse blow up of the addiction. I can't compare it to like some of the other addiction. Like if I didn't work at all, then I'd have even worse. I can't really compare it to like a It's a process addiction. You know what I mean? Like I have to. I'm not where I should be since I lost my gig, but it could be worse if that if it could be better, but it could also be worse. So, and then just this whole idea of like the addictive behavior, I just like it's like really like I can see it like crystal clear, just like and I think to kind of wrap up or sum up what I was it's just this idea there's not enough being anxious, afraid when I don't want to say when I'm active in it because I'm still not at the top levels of recovery. I'm working towards there. But what I would say is that when I'm letting the addiction run the show, I feel anxious, I'm obsessed with money, and I'm afraid. When I'm with God or I'm thinking about God, I'll finish it on a positive note. Like I woke up and I had like a major kind of God shot. I had a tax check was taken out early, but then a transfer that I had made came in early, and it was just a little small God shot from God that He was taking care of me, and I'll leave it there. Yeah.
That's fantastic, Mark. It's always nice to get a check from God. Definitely. What a wonderful thing.